Stocks are plummeting with tech and growth among the hardest hit in the worst sell-off of the summer. The NASDAQ is cratering. Dow ends more than 800 points lower. Looks like a stampede towards the exits. The tech bubble is now bigger than the dot-com bubble. U.S. stock market cap to GDP ratio reaches 190%, eclipsing the dot-com bubble high. Big rallies often come to an ugly end. Nothing goes straight up. It looks like the markets might finally be facing reality. Many people need to be reminded that bubbles don't last forever. The markets won't keep going up forever. At some point, they will simply plateau and finally start going down. It was already trading like a Ponzi scheme. Nobody was selling, just enjoying the paper gains, and getting high euphoria on them. Should Dow be at 19K? No. But should Dow be at 29K? Also no. And the tech companies simply ain't worth this much, period. We could have another 10% fall, easily. If people start thinking fundamentals, if the mindset changes from technicals to fundamentals, then this market has further to go down. We could have another 10% fall, easily, economist Mohammed El-Arian told CNBC this morning. Welcome back to the Atlantis Report. You are here for your daily dose of the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. Please take a second to smash that like button. And as you know, friends, I rely on your donations to keep this channel functional. As you know, it takes a crazy amount of research and time to bring you this content on a daily basis, so I hope you consider helping with whatever donation you can afford. Thank you. The stock indexes reached their final target yesterday, which was a top gap fill on the Dow left when it started to tank in February. Nice 5-month technical rally, but now there could be a sell. The tops declined down towards the March lows, a lot of gaps to fill. The NASDAQ Composite, which has rallied hard over the weeks, tumbled nearly 5% on Thursday as high-flying tech stocks took a breather. The S&P 500 and Dow Jones also suffered big losses, dropping 3.5% and 2.8%, respectively. Stocks typically face choppy waters in September. Apple lost $180 billion in market value on Thursday, a rotten day for technology shares. It's the biggest loss for any company ever. And remember the saying, as Apple goes, so goes the market. All the big money sold last week, and all the puppets are left holding the bag, saying to themselves, I thought I was a genius, my stocks kept going up. Something big is about to happen. Something about September. Market crash 1929, 9/11, 2008 crash, last year repo market went on steroids, dot-com bubble also happened in September. Dang, what's going down this September? The sucking sound of millions of millennials fapping with their Robinhood accounts suddenly crying out in pain. There goes the new gaming console. The unpredictable is getting to be pretty predictable. Drive the market up and run to a safe harbor. Drive it down. Buy back in. Drive it up and run to a safe harbor. And start all over. Sooner or later, the little investors are going to pay the piper when a downturn runs away. The buyers magically appear in the final 30 minutes as usual. The first legalized Ponzi scheme in history can set one closing high after another, but can't set a closing low to save itself, intervention at every turn. Now it begins. 1. Market drop of 70 to 80%. 2. Home equity slaughter. At least 50% delaying evictions and foreclosures is a brilliant strategy used by private equity, hedge funds, and oligarchs. Treasury Secretary Mnuchin will delay until one day, 20 million houses hit the market with 50 million unemployed, and boomers are 401ks down 50% plus. Housing market will implode. The biggest fire sale of all time. Prime real estate picked up for pennies. 3. Social Security and Medicare are next. Monster deficit plus no tax base plus huge mob of unemployed equals grandma and grandpa, your livelihood is on the chopping block. Prepare for serfdom. This is how do you transfer the wealth of a country of 350 million people into the hands of 100,000 people? By central banks' booms and busts, and lies and more lies. The lie that stocks always go up, that housing always goes up, that social security will be there when you are old, etc. This is neo-feudalism and neo-serfdom. Time for the FOMO and irrationally exuberant to get carried out. The big boys figured out that we're nowhere near an economic recovery, and they need to cover their assets. The Fed will print money and inflate this stock market to infinity. It is a legalized cheat in the stock market game. The Fed is gambling our social security money and taxes on the market. I hope they don't lose it on the roulette. It pays 48%, losing 2% over time. It's a Ponzi scheme and totally manipulated by elite players and unnamed bankers who will never be held accountable or responsible. And the population will probably never know what went on behind all those closed doors. The Fed's buy button is on the bench for troubleshooting and repair. 881,000 additional unemployment claims filed for the week ending August 29. A number that will later be quietly revised up, as is the case every week, as unemployment claims are now approaching 60 million over the last 24 weeks. 8.4% are no longer reporting unemployed because Congress went on vacation and failed to extend unemployment benefits. Let the good times roll. Happy days are here again. They'll say anything to keep the savings and pensions fully invested in the stock market until the big crash that will unleash the Civil War revolution. Bankers hoarded all the grain in France to unleash the French Revolution. Same playbook. The market runs on lies, and sheeple love lies and illusions. The Fed and stock market learned how to make money from crooks, and now they are implementing their tactics in today's market. Straight crooks. All to hide massive financial fraud. Federal Reserve Bank is robbing the Treasury. Corporate bonds and mortgage-backed securities are junk. So they sell to Fed. Money reform is coming. Argue about anything you want. It is like before any other bloody conflict. Money reform. Your wealth will cease to exist in one way or another. Blame the other side. The system has been gamed since 1913 against you. The middle class was the cartilage between the rich and the poor. It is pretty much gone now. What happens next is predictable. Serfdom for the masses is the goal of the elites. You will have 0.01% who are the oligarchs. Another 5% will be government enforcement with the weapons. The rest will be living the Hunger Games and be depopulated. It is going according to plan. The economic chaos is threatening the market value of equity held by the 6 megacorporations owned by the too big to fail banks. The bankers are exercising the covert ownership of the FR Board of Governors, Inc., to protect their equity. The Fed's increasingly strained attempts to rationalize ever more aggressive monetary policy via ratcheting inflation targets higher are pure sophistry. It wants easier money to keep Wall Street product prices levitating and enable big spenders in Washington. That any part of the mainstream financial media can take it seriously is a testament to its willingness to abandon any pretense of critical analysis. I think the Fed needs to redefine itself to the world as a standalone nation banker that no longer holds responsibility or respects the citizens of the USA. They are just the casino house. It's all they can handle. But they will have to find someone else's money to play with. And what the hell of a Ponzi scheme it is. The market breadth is in only 6 stocks. 6. Watch as yields rise. It begins to turn. But going back to 1928, when stocks rose 5% or more in August, and the June to August return was top 25%, the market often struggled in September and October. If it was a relatively normal year minus COVID-19, social unrest, high unemployment rate, election year, then I would take heed to these prognostications. But this is not your grandfather's stock market. Everything is fair game for 2020. Here's a scary thought. In September 1929, a young new stockbroker in Pittsburgh named Richard Larrick took his small inheritance and family money and invested it all in the booming stock market. He never saw what hit him. I am thinking of a bad mix between COVID, US debt becoming higher than GDP, real unemployment might be that 940,000 or maybe a million. Housing prices and rent are going up, yet eviction is on pause. People are getting their bills late, loan rates, and the dollar losing value. It takes time for all of these things to affect the economy. It just so happens that it started in March. It took 6 months for this monster hit now. I think more of a correction to reflect what is happening in the US. It will be mathematically impossible to control the debt. The US will eventually default, the dollar will be worthless. Fed and government have no cash. US is trillions in debt, borrowing money from the future by issuing IOU to banks at 0% interest. No free market capitalist economy would do that. The U.S. trade deficit unexpectedly surged 18.9% in July to $63.6 billion from an upwardly revised $53.5 billion in June. This is the widest trade deficit since 2008. Trump promised to win on trade. Instead, we're losing big league. Inflation can be easily tamed by raising interest rates. As we know, to bankers, raising interest rates is like forcing vampires into the sunlight. So now we have the worst of two worlds, ever-increasing debt and near to zero interest rates. We thought it was bad when we realized the purchasing power of our dollar was cut by 98% since 1915. But the power that be don't see it that way. They just plod ahead and do their most damn to devalue the dollar by another 98%. If all the interest on all the debt is eventually owed to you, you can keep devaluing currency through debt creation until the cows come home, and you'll end up owning everything and everybody. This was the Atlantis Report. Please like, share, leave me a comment, subscribe. And please take some time to subscribe to my backup channels. I do upload videos there too. You'll find the links in the description box. You will also find a PayPal link if you want to make a donation. Thank you wholeheartedly to all those of you who have already donated. Stay safe and healthy, friends.